Welcome back. We're following major developments in the election interference case brought against Donald Trump in Fulton County, Georgia. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is now seeking an emergency protective order to ban the release of witness videos. This request comes a day after several media outlets obtained what's known as proffer videos of defendants who've already pleaded guilty in this case. Now, NBC News has not independently obtained those videos yet, but in one video published by the Washington Post, former Trump attorney Jenna Ellis is seen and heard telling prosecutors about her interactions with Trump Deputy Chief of Staff Dan Scavino in the aftermath of the 2020 election.
And he said, well, the boss, meaning President Trump, and everyone understood the boss, that's what we all called him. He said the boss is not going to leave under any circumstances. We are just going to stay in power. And I said to him, well, it doesn't quite work that way, you realize. And he said, we don't care.
NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hillyard's been covering this all day for us. So, Vaughn, how much concern is there within the DA's office about the release of these videos? And what's in this protective order? Like, what steps can they actually take to try to stop them from leaking out?
Right, Garrett. Concern and frustration. In fact, Fani Willis was in Washington, D.C. today for a separate event and was speaking at an event that was live streamed in which she talked about the frustration and the reason for the protective order, that part of these proffers in which these four defendants sat down with prosecutors and provided their truthful and accurate statements as part of their plea agreements, that is used and provided to defense attorneys to begin to mount their case for their clients. But when the public dissemination and your ability, my ability, and the public at large's ability to watch those and gather the evidence in real time months ahead of the trial, that is where the concern was. Just take a look at part of this motion for this protective order, in which Willis writes, the release of these confidential video recordings is clearly intended to intimidate witnesses in this case, subjecting them to harassment and threats prior to trial, constitutes indirect communication about the facts of this case with co-defendants and witnesses, and obstructs the administration of justice in violation of the conditions of release imposed on each defendant.
So what's your take on this then, Vaughn? Is the assumption here that somehow these were leaked by Trump World in an effort to have sort of like the MAGA universe intimidate people who'd flipped on Trump? Is that kind of what the DA is trying to get at here?
Right. That is her insinuation here. And the state provided each of the defense attorneys of those who are still current defendants with copies of these tapes here. And so there's an outstanding question as to what was the goal that was attempted to be achieved here. There was pressure, of course, put onto these witnesses, individuals who could very well testify as part of the federal election interference probe taking place by special counsel Jack Smith. And so there are serious questions, and that is why Fani Willis is looking to seek to not only these videos, but also to prevent any dissemination of any of the evidence that is turned over from the state to these defense attorneys to go public.
Well, they're definitely worth watching for folks who want to seek them out. I think you and I had the same reaction that like 2020 Jenna Ellis and 2023 Jenna Ellis feel like very different people. But I want to ask you about a different Trump legal issue here in the time we have left. This new attack against the judge presiding over his civil fraud trial. What's the former president saying now, and how's this going to affect potentially the gag order in that case?
Right. This is the part where all of these cases are sort of connected, right, Garrett, is the fact that there is evidence that the former president continues to direct attacks at key individuals involved in each of these cases, from the judges to the prosecutors. And the New York Attorney General's civil lawsuit here, the folks involved in that case woke up to a social media post in which Donald Trump reposted another individual saying that they hoped that there would be a civilian arrest of Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, as well as Judge Engoron, the judge presiding over that case in Lower Manhattan. Again, a civilian arrest was the direct words of this individual that Trump reposted here. The gag order in New York is only directed to the staff of the court, not on the AG or the judge at this time. But clearly, Donald Trump is frustrated by these pending proceedings and directing aim of folks across and his supporters across the country at those who are taking him to court.
Yeah, frustration is one thing until somebody goes and tries it. Vaughn Hillyard, thank you for your reporting on this.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.